And so recording is one of those things that you get as part of your teacher upgrade. And so that's important to know. If you have students who may be taking other classes or running up against other things, my kids, we do homeschool ski school in the springtime for 6 weeks, and so I am so grateful when teachers can record classes during that bit of time period where we have to miss some of those things. And you may end up with kids who do the same thing. Also, it's great to record if you feel like that you don't have that second teacher in the classroom. If you are really comfortable with that and just like to have that kind of safety feature built in, then you can always record your class. And so there's a few different reasons why you might do that, but it's a great option. Jen.
You know, I did that because even though there was 2 of us, some of the people couldn't come to class and wanted to record it. So after I did it once or twice, I just did it for the whole semester. So then when it came to do the end of the year showcase, I went through all my videos and screenshot and was able to put together that thing to showcase all of the kids.
Oh, that's a great idea. And I hadn't thought about that. So that is an option at the in past years. And we have a new activities director this year. And so I'm not sure what she'll end up doing, but we've always tried to showcase what you guys are doing in the classroom. And so that's something to think about as you head into this new year. And whether that is putting together a slideshow or a Google site, or, you know, using screenshots, games that your kids may have created. I know Joyce did a great job this last year. She teaches our baking class with the cake decorating class, and put together a great little Google site with all of the cakes that her kids had created over the year. So lots of things to do. So something to keep in the back of your mind, and ways that you might be able to show the rest of the group some of the things that, you know, show and tell for your guys' classroom through the year. So, okay. So teacher upgrade. The first thing that I want to do with teacher upgrade is we're going to jump in. When you have teacher upgrade, one of the biggest things that it affects is how your meet room looks, and all of the options that you have when you're meeting with your students live. And so when you jump into a meet, you will have on your screen, you will show like 3 little on the bottom right-hand side, it will show like a triangle and a square and a circle together, and it creates its own little triangle. And when you click into that, it gives you lots of options. And some of those options include breakout rooms, polls, Q&A, your recording option, whether or not you want transcripts. So even the conversation, it will capture that and create a written transcript for it. And then whiteboards or your Jamboards. And those are all fabulous things. And we're going to talk a little bit about each of them, as well as the newest Google upgrade that we were just given for teachers, which is practice sets. But to get going, we're going to just jump right in here. Who has, by a show of hands, and you can do that by pushing the little hand button down at the bottom of your screen, who has ever taught using Google Meet before? Some of you guys are past teachers, so I know you have, but we have lots of new teachers on here. Okay. So some of our new teachers are brand new to this. Perfect. Okay, so you have that option. What we just did there was just a really simple way, even without an upgrade, to get kind of the pulse of a class, you know, to ask your kids a question and have them raise their hand. They can also raise their hand when, you know, if they're needing to ask you a question. If you're in the middle of a lecture and they need to ask a question, then that's one way that they can do it if it's hard for them to just speak out. And sometimes if you have a class that's really chatty, that can get really hard because we are virtually in a virtual setting. And so as many people try to speak up at the same time and they're all talking over each other, it just doesn't work very well. And then you can just say, oh, okay, you can put your hands down now. You click on the hand thing again and it drops your hand. But if you kind of want to get the pulse of your class, you can set up a poll. So what I have done is I have a couple of questions here for you, and I have saved them, and so I am now launching those. Okay, and so you guys should be able, Kristen.
Sorry, did you had to create the poll once you started the Google Meet, right? You're not able to create it before like a day early.
So I was going to double check this because of Jamboards you can create anytime. I had not seen, I just usually create my polls in the morning, but yes, going in a few minutes early and just typing those out and then saving them so that I can launch them at the beginning of class. A lot of them though, you can go behind, and I was just double checking whether or not that was one of my options, but I'm not seeing it. So Joyce, do you do this beforehand?
Well, no, I have Kristen. I had a similar question. You said save them because I didn't create them. Kristen did, but I would like to do that. And that's what she was talking about. How do we do it so that if we do it ahead of time? But you said save it. Is there a save button or something? Because once you use it, it disappears, right?
That one, yes. So once you answer it and we kind of go through it, yes. And so it will show up it should show up in your transcript and your recording, and the notes. So what I'm doing right now is I'm actually adding all of you guys as a co-host, and I'm wondering if that will give us all the ability to play around with it together. So was everybody able to get in and to see those, your poll questions and answer those?
I'm on my phone and I'm not seeing I didn't see anything pop up. I didn't see anything. All I'm seeing is all 8 screens. I mean, I could pin you as the speaker, but I didn't get a notification that there was a poll when I'm sitting here on my phone.
Oh, I have to go to the, I think you have to click on that triangle, square, circle at the bottom,
Yes.
and then at the polls, and then there's the questions there. I just found it.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if it doesn't come up automatically, Stacy, are you able to do that from your phone?
Yeah, I do have that option, but I would have needed somebody to have told me that for sure. So it's a good heads up.
It's really odd sometimes, depending on the computer or whatever screen they're on. Sometimes for my kids, those polls just pulled up automatically, and other times they have to go into it. And so yes, that is a great reminder that when you get into your classroom that first day or whatever day you decide to use polls as an option, that you can always click down into that little triangle on the button made out of those shapes, and then they can access it that way.
Yeah, and I guess I would have thought that there would have been like a little pop-up on my screen, telling me like, hey, teacher just, shared a poll with you or something. So yeah, I'm surprised.
And yeah, and really, I think sometimes it just depends on the type of device that you're on. And Google is funny that way. So some people have figured this out. And so I have made all of you co-hosts. And so I can see that you can do this. I want you all to get in and to try making your own poll. Ask a question. You will see that it gives you some options at the bottom, and we'll talk through those in just a second. Jen, you had a question.
Okay, so you made us a co-host, which is why we have power to delete these.
Yes. So now you have editing capabilities, and I don't suggest you giving this to your students, but as we try to do this and learn it hands-on this morning, I want you guys to be able to play around and see some of these functions as we go through them. Okay. So you're in the polls. You go to the bottom one. You go to the very bottom of what's already been created, and you'll see a button that says create a poll. And so you click onto that. It gives you options. So you can ask, true or false questions. You could ask multiple choice questions, because as you go in, you will see that it allows you to give your 2 responses, and then you can add options, as many as you want. Okay. And then a couple of things. You can, when you're asking those things and it's saying, how do you want to do this? So you can either show everyone the results, or you would just do that by clicking on it, and it will shift it over to the right, and then everyone would be able to see how the poll lined up. Or you can just set it, leave it to no, and then it's just a personal question for you. And you can guide it, kind of see how it's going in your class. So if it's something that it's kind of sensitive and you're wanting to get a sense of how many people know a certain subject, but you don't necessarily want the kids to know who knows that, then you can do that without letting everybody see the results. The other option, if it's something a little bit sensitive, but you do want people to see the answers, is that you can change the setting right there to say whether or not you want the responses to appear without names. So then they can just see what the class says, but they don't know who said the answer. And that's a great way to do it too. Now, when you're creating that at the bottom, it will say that you either want to launch it or do you want to save it? And that is where you kind of save it for later. So I didn't want those to come up immediately as you guys came into the classroom. Sometimes you will. Sometimes as you'll want it as an opening activity, and maybe you have it there as the kind of the pre-activity while you're waiting for all your kids to show up. And so you could say, just launch, and then it's launched. And then as kids get in, they can see that. They can be answering it before class starts. Maybe it's an icebreaker. Maybe you're doing like an either or game. Do you prefer the beach or the mountains? Do you, that kind of thing where you're just kind of doing something fun to get to know your kids. Or like for my U.S. government class this last year, this is where I would set up my questions beforehand to ask the kids their CLEP questions. So all year long, for every single class just about, I would just ask a few questions, somewhere between 3 and 5, depending on how much time we had. And I would save them. And then we'd get going with class, and my kids just knew that was one of the first things that we were going to do. But then I would launch those questions. They would hurry and answer them. We'd kind of talk about them, and then we would move in to the next portion of our class. But that was really great because over the course of 28 weeks, those 3 to 5 questions that we were going through adds up to a lot of practice CLEP questions that we were going over in preparation for their final exam at the end of the year. And the tests that we took at the end of the semester all came from those questions. And those are questions that I compiled. So, and maybe Joyce, this is where this was my workaround, was that I had all these questions compiled in a big list, and then I would just grab them. I would just see which ones I wanted to ask, and I would put them in the poll for that day. But then I had them on kind of a master list so that we could ask them I could create their test in Google Forms at the end of the semester based off of those questions. So we have a couple questions in the audience, Jen and then Kristen.
Okay, you made us co-hosts. Can we do that in our classroom? Like if we needed to make someone a co-host, how do we do that?
Yes, you can. So that is simply by going into the little people person. You see at the bottom, there's little people icon. If you click onto that, it brings up the list of everybody who's in your class. Or everybody in our meeting. You can see that. All of you guys can go into that right now. You can see all of us. You'll see that we're all listed. Oh, Julia, let's make you. So what you do is you click on the 3 little buttons, the vertical buttons by their name, and it will say pin to screen or don't watch, or in this case, we want to add to co-host. So now I've just added Julia as another co-host in our meeting. And you can do that for anybody.
What happens when you pin to screen? Does that mean that only that person will be seen?
So go ahead and try it. And you're going to affect everybody when you do it. So give it a shot and let's see. So let's see, Jen, we're going to pin you to screen. So it makes you big. So everybody else is small on the side. Jen, you're front and center right now.
But that doesn't affect everybody's.
No,
screen.
that does. You're right. That only affects your personal screen. So that if the person you want to see, we're in this big group right now, and the one main person is talking and they're kind of lost, especially if you get a big group, and it goes into a double. You have multiple screens, and so you lose kind of who you're watching. You'd want to pin the presenter as the main person.
I was just going to comment, and I'm sure it's not a big deal because for the most part, we would all be working from our computers, but I definitely, working off of my phone, do not have some of the options. Like with the poll, I can see the polls, but I don't have the option to add a question. I can scroll down on the Q&A part and, do that. So, I see that type of interface, but when I'm on my phone, I don't have as much access to those things.
Yes, and unfortunately, that's the case with a lot of the Google products, and so it is difficult. It is difficult to get all the functionality out of it from your phone. So, as a teacher, the advice would be try to make sure that you're on, a bigger device. And so, a computer probably would work best. I know that some have taught off of iPads. And that might be an option. And so mine tend to be Google Android devices. And so I don't have that capability. I'm not sure how well. I know Rebecca Bogardus does a lot with her iPad and stuff. So she would be a great one if that's a direction that you tend to lean, that I know has experience doing that kind of thing. So, oh yes. So lots of polls. We have got this one figured out. Perfect. But you always use, Kika, you always use your computer as your main screen. So yeah, so some might use it as their second screen or their phone as their second screen as we're trying to do this and you're trying to be off of a computer. And we talked about this a little bit in the last workshop. And for those of us who have shifted over to getting a second screen, you will never go back. Really, you won't. It's amazing how much more convenient it becomes if you get a second monitor. In our last one, they talked about going to DI and picking up a second monitor, a cheap one. So that can be a great option. That can be really cheap. But anything that you can do to connect to that second one, that way you're not having to split your screen. You'll be able to be in class. Like we're in class right now. I have information up that I'm going to be sharing here, and it is on my other monitor. So it doesn't have to you guys don't have to be like an inch tall in order for me to see everything that's going on. And that's a great option there. Okay, so let's jump into our polls now and see what people have put. Go ahead and answer them if you haven't. You guys are very kind. Thank you. Oh, I'm going to join here on the West Coast. There's not very many of us here.
Jamie, I have a question.
Yes.
Have you ever set up your poll, started your Google Meet before class so you could get your poll set up and then left your computer and the Google Meet has closed itself? Or does it just keep running? Because I feel like that happened once.
That is a really important question, and I did have that happen. So if you get in too early and you are the only one in your classroom and you walk away, at some point it's going to say, you're the only one in this classroom. Do you want to remain? And then it will give you like I don't remember whether it's 1 or 2 minute warning. And if you are not at your screen and you click, yes, I am still here, it will close out of it. And I think it goes, and I'm not sure, I want to say like 20 minutes or something before it gives you that message. So is it less?
I think so, because I would often set up my cake decorating because I'm setting up the video early, way early. And it might be 10 minutes. I don't know. It's not I felt like it wasn't very long because it happened to me multiple times. And I'd be like, oh shoot, I've got to jiggle my mouse and say I'm still here. I wish I knew exactly what time it was, because then I would, but I did, it seems like it was less. It wasn't, I don't know.
Well, I will take that on, ladies. So after we're done, I will set up the meet by myself and I will time it to see how long before that message comes on. I only lucked out because I would be sitting at my screen working on other things, getting those questions ready, because sometimes those questions take a little bit to type out, and then that screen would show up and say, oh, it looks like you're the only one here. Let's close out, or do you want to keep going? And so once I click that, usually I only had to click that once before my class started, and I would be okay. But if it has done that, that is the reason why. So You don't have to set it up really early. If you do, just know that you're going to need to pay attention, and I will time it for you, and I'll put it in the teacher chat later today and let you know. Make sure at this minute that that you're checking your computer to keep it up if you're not going to be sitting at your computer working on other things.
Maybe a workaround would be join with your phone. Like have double.
Yes, give yourself two people in the classroom
Right.
so that it knows. And my son made it home, but he's at my door. Hold on 2 seconds. Okay. Oh, I see nobody is a Slytherin. Who wants to identify with the Slytherin house there?
That would be my daughter, Bella. So she's in your class. Just know
No, that's fine. And so that's so much fun. I love these questions.
I have a Slytherin too. One of my children. She prides herself.
Being the odd one out and stuff, but I think the general consensus is who would want to be, but there was a lot of great qualities there. Harry could have been a Slytherin. Okay, so perfect. So we've done some of these polls, and you guys can continue to play with that. But let's move on to the next one. So Q&As. This is a great one, guys. So if we're in here and you have a question, and you don't want to necessarily raise your hand and speak to all the group, you can go into the Q&As. You can say that you just click in and you can either show all questions and you can sort it. It allows you to sort it. And then you just come in and then it can create a discussion. So this is another way if you are doing like book discussions or you're trying to create something, but there's not a lot of talking going on. Or you have kids. I have a computer that for some reason I cannot get the volume on it to work. So when you guys have had my daughter Samantha in class, it makes her crazy. It makes me crazy. We have tried so hard to get her Chromebook to work with the thing. And so she often feels like she wants to speak, but she doesn't have that option. So sometimes having this, the availability of people to ask questions, if they can't speak up or they don't want to speak up, your class is really quiet, or they want to ask something, they can post anonymously. So maybe they're uncomfortable, they're just not getting it, but they don't want to tell everybody that they're the one who's not getting whatever it is that you're teaching. They can post anonymously. And that way, it's a great workaround behind those who may feel uncomfortable speaking up because they're not understanding something. Joyce.
This is Q&A for the kids, not for the teacher.
Yeah, this is out, yes, to the group, and it should be this should be available for your kids to post on.
So it's available all the time, you're saying?
Well, you have to.
Like I want to understand how I would use this, like in the middle of a lesson or something. Does that make sense? Do I say if you have questions, pop it up here, and then it just alerts me? Or do we stop and say we're going to do Q&A? Does that make sense?
Yes. And so this is one that I don't use a lot. So I'm actually going to take, Kristen, I'm going to take you off of a co-host, and Kika, I'm going to take you off as a co-host. Okay. So now you guys are just student options here. And so do you have the capability of doing the questions outside of the chat? And can you post anonymously?
Am I supposed to be able to see your screen? Because I don't see your screen. Like I just see people.
So we're playing around with it. And Julie, I think you popped in just a minute late and behind, and I apologize for that. So we are playing around with the functions that are found at the bottom of our Meet screen. So so right now we're the one that has the triangle and the square and the circle. When you click into that and it brings up the options, because you're a co-host, you should be able to see all of those things and play around with them with us. And that's where we're in right now. So it's not showing anything on the screen. We're just each individually playing around with those options in that.
Perfect. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, my internet kicked me out. And I'm like, getting back in again.
Gotta love the technology, is that right?
I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't supposed to be seeing your screen. The thing on the side I can't see. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Perfect.
I'm in the Q&A and I've asked 2 questions, but I can't see them after I submit it. Can you see anything that I've done?
Okay, and let me get in now and see where we're at with that. Okay, so I see that. So Kristen asked me, what is the temperature at your house this morning?
I did that before. When I was a co-host, I did that right before. And then I've asked a couple questions since you took me off of a host and I can't see them either.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So I have Kika who wrote me, yes, I can see this. And then anonymous. So checking who is going to have temperatures over 110 today. Is that you, Kristen, that posted that?
No,
I wrote checking as anonymous.
Okay.
I wrote yes. And then I wrote, I'm trying to write a question or something like that.
Yes. And I do see that. Okay. Joyce.
I put that the 110. So it said I had a button that said ask a question. So I did. I didn't know I'm still a host.
Yes. Yes. Currently you're still a host. So you guys, so when you ask the question, so can Kika and Kristen, when do you see Jennifer's question and Julia's question, do you guys see those questions to you guys?
I can see them all now. They just popped up. Everything did that I wrote and that everyone else wrote.
Yeah, it's kind of delayed. It seems
But you wrote with your names or anonymous?
Anonymously.
Oh. What
It
your
was
question?
Jamie. It was like you asked us if we saw it, and then they popped up. So it's
It was magic. I just had to speak.
Joyce, yours is coming up anonymously about the 110.
Okay,
I
yeah.
thought that might be you. That sounds miserable.
Oh, our poor Arizona people who are just melting down there.
1:15 yesterday when I was shopping. I'm like, why am I out at this time of day? Because that's when I had time to go shopping.
Hey.
Okay, so we can see all of the questions because I saw the 2 anonymous from Kristen and Kika. Is that how you say your name? Okay, so that's the checking and I'm trying to make a question, right? Okay, I saw those right up. It's just the scrolly thing on the side. I began to scroll down and I began to see everything. So I don't know.
So the kind of the difference between this and your chat, this is kind of nice because this feature allows people to understand that these are questions. We're in a classroom. We're going to be in a classroom discussion. Maybe you're wanting them to create questions about whatever topic it is that you're learning about. And maybe you're going to use, one of the activities that I do with my kids sometimes is I have them create the questions that are going to be on their next quiz. And as a learning activity, like what are you picking up? What questions would you ask the group that you think are important for everybody to know? So this is a place where you could post those, and then we will double check this. But my guess is that because it's something that we've done that's official, it will show up on my transcript notes when the recording, and because I'm recording this class, that this will all show up in the end.
But it's not like the chat where we can write an answer back to the question.
No, so this is something that you would want to respond to. You know, if you're saying, guys, let me know what it is you're struggling with. Let's talk through this. But one of the nice things is that you can hide it once you've seen it, and you can mark as answer. So let's see. Who gets up at 6 a.m.? Jen, occasionally, if I absolutely have to. This morning I was, because I was teaching a class and I'm Western time zone, and so it was early. So now I can click that, and now I know it has been answered. So those are all reasons why you might want to use this versus just your regular chat. Okay, so when you want to record a class, we don't want to play around with this because we are in record mode. And so don't delete it because this will affect all of us. But when you go in, when you do recordings, right now, if you click on that, it will say your video call is being recorded. And then you could just go to the bottom and you could say stop recording. One of the things that I freaked out about the first time that I recorded, and at the end of class, I just clicked my red button at the bottom, my little phone button. I clicked out and it said in meeting for everybody, and I did. And then I had this absolute panic attack that maybe because I hadn't officially stopped my meeting, that it wasn't going to bring up the recording. Rest assured, you're good to go. Okay. It will, it knows. Google is great that way for saving everything. Even if you don't officially go into the recording and say stop recording at the button, at the bottom, it will record it for you. There is just a delay. So almost immediately after you get out of your meeting, you will get an email saying here are the notes from your meeting. But because, if you're teaching an hour-long class, that takes a little while to come back to you. So expect that it's going to be an hour or two before you get that recording back in your emails. Julia.
Tell me more about the notes for the meeting. Is that the recording or is it a transcript or what's
So that just is basic information. So you will get just a little summary and it will show you like who attended your class today. That could be, if you have quite a few in your class and you're kind of watching to see, maybe you're not taking roll on a regular basis, but maybe you can reach out to that people and can be like, I noticed that you missed class. Here's a recording of our class. And that just depends on the relationship with your kids.
I like that participants list because then I don't have to try to think about, okay, who's here and teach class at the same time. That's really handy.
Mm-hmm. Or if you notice somebody who keeps missing class over and over, you can reach out and say, hey, are you still participating? Are you still going to be in my class? In a virtual format, it's really easy for some kids to just decide, oh, I'm overwhelmed. I'm not going to keep taking this class. And you may or may not be told that as a teacher, unfortunately. So, okay. So 2 more things really quick in our meet here. The first one is breakout rooms. I love breakout rooms. They are so useful and they can be so much fun if you're trying to break up the way that your class operates. So maybe you're wanting to do something and to break your kids out into projects or activities or discussions, smaller discussion groups. This is going to happen in your breakout rooms. And all you have to do, let me give you back co-hosting capabilities here, Kika and Kristen. Okay, everybody should have that again now. Oh, and Gina, let's make sure you have co-hosting capabilities so you can see this. Okay, so we're going to jump in and you go into breakout rooms, which is the one at the top, and all you have to do to do this, and maybe I can walk you through this without having you necessarily send us all out into breakout rooms at the same time. I am not sure how that would function and might break our meeting. I don't know. But you would simply go in, you would say, set up breakout rooms, that first button. It will give you an option and it will let you pick the number of rooms that you want to break it out to. And so in a large class, maybe you're going to have 3 or 4 breakout rooms. I just try to do it as equally as possible. And, or maybe you're just wanting a couple of groups in a smaller room. You can decide how you want to do that. You can either set up a timer and say, hey guys, we are going into your breakout rooms. You guys have 10 minutes to discuss this. Okay. And if you do that, it will automatically set it up so that after 10 minutes, everyone gets pushed out of those breakout rooms back into your main call. You don't have to set a timer though. You could just say, we're going to go into here. We're going to see how long this takes it. And then you as the host have the ability to shut down the breakout rooms at any time. Okay. So you can either decide that beforehand, or you can just see how things are going in your classroom and end the breakout room at any time. You can shuffle. So it will automatically break your kids out into the number of breakout rooms that you have set up. You can see that ours, it looks like people are kind of playing around with that right now. You can kind of see as I change my number, it will automatically. And you can drop and drag those names into different rooms. So if you notice in my class, maybe there in my class, sometimes we would have people that I knew were going to be very vocal in those breakout rooms and other kids that I knew were going to be super quiet. I didn't want the same kids ending up in the same rooms over and over again because they were dominated by certain voices, just certain personalities in my classroom. And so you'll and that will come with time, right? As you get to know your kids and the personalities in your class, you'll be like, oh, okay, this time we're going to make sure that the breakout rooms don't include these same people. We're going to shift this around a bit. And then all you have to do is go to the bottom and say open rooms. It will open them up, and then the kids will have the opportunity to go into each of those rooms. You as the teacher have the ability to jump from room to room to room. So you can go in and then you could say, oh, I need to change room. I need to go and check and see what these kids are doing. So as the teacher, you have that ability to run in interference in between different rooms. Stacy, you had a question.
Yeah, I was just wondering what happens if you're recording the class, what happens to breakout rooms? Are those getting recorded separately or what happens?
No, unfortunately, this is one of those things that I'm hoping Google will upgrade at some point and create that as a feature. But right now, everything that's in our main screen, in our home screen, is recorded. Anything that happens in your breakout rooms, you lose. And then when you come back into the main screen, it will say, you remember that you're recording, and if you're okay with that, then you can come back into the main screen. But unfortunately, there's no way to record what's happening in your breakout rooms.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions about breakout rooms? It's really intuitive. The first couple of times you may feel like, what am I doing? You can't mess it up. If you absolutely have to, you get everybody else out and you try it again. So Julia.
How does the teacher jump from room to room? Do they pop up on the screen as different rooms, or how do you move?
Yes. Yep. You can just drag you and there will be a feature. It seems like when I'm in it and I'm moving, I can just say, I click into my breakout rooms on the side so I can see. You can't do it if you don't have the screen up. You won't be able to do it if you're just seeing the rooms. But if you have that breakup room screen on the side open, then you can just shift yourself from room to room. Kristen.
I found it really helpful to just do kind of a dry run with a bunch of devices. And once I did it by myself, it was pretty easy. But I think it would be overwhelming to have all of your students there and try and figure it out the first day. So that would be my suggestion. Just try it yourself.
And let me see, because you guys are all co-hosts, I'm going to be the one. I've set up some rooms. I'm going to open them up, but you guys all have co-host capabilities. So we're going to test this. I haven't tried this before, and I'm going to see. Let's see how this Okay, it looks like we have just about everybody back, almost. Just missing a couple more people. So that was kind of fun. I've never tried that with everybody as co-host before, but was everybody able to see how that worked and how easy it was to join from room to room? How you could leave a room, how you could close out the meeting up on top. So that was, if I had set a timer, that would have done that. Because I didn't, I was just able to press leave rooms. It gives you a 30-second timer that warns your kids. You guys have 30 seconds to finish up your discussion. And then you'll all be pushed back into the main call. And then when you were pushed back into the main call, you had the little button that came up that said, this meeting is being recorded. Is that okay? And if you want to, then you can join now. So did I see a question? Julia.
So does it always ask if you want to join a room, or can you just like, pop, now you're in a room? Like on my screen, it popped up, do you want to join a room? But it took a couple minutes for it to actually connect. I don't know if that's probably just my internet, but.
Part of that is the internet connection.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, the kids need to be like, oh, yes, you've been invited to this room. You need to join it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions about that? Okay. The last thing I want to talk about in our meet really quick is your whiteboarding ability. So this is whiteboard, and so it's also called Jamboard. So unlike your polls, which we talked about, you can't really set it beforehand. Jamboards are something that you can do well in advance. You could set up your Jamboards this summer, and then they will be good to go. And so you're like, well, what is Jamboard? Why might I use Jamboard? So I'm going to present my screen, and we're going to get in here. And I'm going to show you how to do this. So if you want to get in while your kids are, while you're in class, you don't have a Jamboard set up, but you want to have your kids have that capability, you're going to get in, you're going to create a discussion. You don't have to have a Jamboard pre-set up. And I'll show you that in a minute. But first, if you are setting up an activity, Julia has just shared a Jamboard with us. She's on top of it there. And so she has that, she's put that in the chat for you guys to jump into. If you guys want to preset your Jamboards, you just go to your Google main, you need to be in your Ladder Up account. You go to the main screen, you come over, and you will notice that one of the options that you have down here is your Jamboard. Okay. You would click into Jamboard. And you can see these are lots of files. I see an intro to Spanish one. That must be from Kristen and Joyce. And so these are ones that have been done in past year, over the past years. You can see how people might use them. This is a quote walk that I used in my class, Articles in Confederation. So some of these, you can tell the teachers that we tend to use the Jamboards. So you would go in, you can just create a new one. You know, so there's questions here about Jamboard. If you're looking to help on how to create one. And I can just come down here and I can say, oh, I want to create a new Jamboard. And so once you do that, it pulls it up for you. Jamboards are so much fun. You can do lots of things in them. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to click out of this though, because I want to show you. So if you want to, Jamboards are something that you can do post-it notes, you can do discussions, you can post pictures, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. But if you don't have one pre-set up and you want to get your kids into it, okay, you would come over to activities. You go down to whiteboarding. You say you start a new whiteboard. It is going to pull it up and I want to share. So it's going to bring up a screen on my end that says share with people. And then it will have a button at the bottom and it's going to say either as viewer or editor. So if you have something set up and you just want to show your kids kind of like a slideshow or something, and you don't want them to have ability to edit, then you would say viewer. But more often than not, I'm going to say editor. Okay, and I'm going to say allow And I'm going to make sure that our Latter Day Saint virtual community has that option. So then I'm going to press continue. Okay. And it is going to bring up something on your end that says, oh, you can get into it. So the Jamboard files at the bottom. So one is the one that Julia pulled up. The second one is the one that I just pulled up. So you can join that second one here for a minute. And you might have to, at this point, if you don't have a second screen, it's going to take your whole screen. So you either want to split your screen or you want to shift it over to your second screen. Joyce.
Oh, I think I just remembered you put it in the chat, didn't you? I'm like, I'm not seeing where is this a click. Okay.
Or go to Jamboard, kind of like we did with polls. You had to click into the Jamboard.
Right, but I click into it in chat, correct? Or do I have to go somewhere else?
If it pulled it up that way. I'm used to seeing it from my teacher side. And so I know that you can get into it by going into the whiteboarding option at the bottom, and it will bring up at the bottom, you'll see Jamboard files that are currently available to get into. And the second one is the one that we're all currently in.
Oh, got it. So the kids.
It's in the chat.
You always have the kids join it from the chat, but they can join it from whiteboarding?
Yes. So Kika is saying, yep, it does pull up in the chat and stuff, but if for some reason they're not seeing it there, they can't get into the whiteboarding to see it as an option. So Ashley, did you have a question? Oh, you're muted. Oh, and your volume is still down. I'm not hearing. Oh, it might be your headphones.
My daughter had me put headphones on because she's playing. She thought that would be better. Whatever. Okay, anyway, so they can see this two ways by going to the whiteboard option or going to the chat option. Okay, awesome.
Yes.
So that's one question. My other question is, how do I split the screen so I can see both on this and the Jamboard on one, if I only have one screen?
Are you like a Google Android or PC user? Or are you a Mac user?
My laptop.
Are you is it an Apple product or
It's not an Apple product.
So the really simple way to do that is to just grab your tab that we're in at the top of the screen. You just grab that tab and you start pulling it down to the bottom right hand corner. As you do that, it will break your screen in half.
Okay. No.
And then, so it will pull up. So that should be half of your screen. And then it should show you all your other windows that are available. And you click on the Jamboard one or whatever the meeting one, whichever one you don't have up. And then that should pull up on the other side of your screen.
Okay. You just went somewhere, but I don't know where you went.
I still see you. So I know you're there. Did it pull you down to the bottom? Did it just minimize you completely?
Okay, I think I did it. I don't know how I did it. Couldn't do it again, but something happened. So that's okay.
So you just start pulling it over to this side and it should split your screen in half there. So you can play around with that anytime, whether you're in a meeting or not a meeting. If you're just playing around on your computer, that's something that you can always do. So if you're trying to work in multiple screens at the same time. So, okay, so now we're in our Jamboard. Everybody should be in it here with me. I have given you editing capabilities, and so that means that you guys can play around on this. So you will see options for pens and erasers, and when you click on the pen button, it gives you some options for like how big do you want your pen. Obviously, this is where sometimes the kids love to do this with their mouse. And it makes it kind of wobbly, but they can do it. Sometimes this is where it's nice to have like an iPad or a touch screen, something that they can use their fingers on. They can change the colors. And so I want everybody to pick a pen and a color, and I want you to scribble on our Jamboard here. Joyce, you had a question.
So this is also something I could set up ahead of time. I don't have to be putting it in the chat. I could just put it in, pull it from Drive, have it ready, and then just tell the kids go to whiteboard. And okay, I'm just trying to think efficiency of time. Okay.
Mandy.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I can see the whiteboard, but I don't have any tools.
Ooh.
Yeah, we don't have editor privileges.
Same. I'm view only.
I'm view only. Yeah.
It says view only.
Why did it do that? Let's change this and
Yeah, you
see if
just have
that works. So my access, so this is one of those things that your kids will tell you, and you'll be in class the first day and you'll be like, I set this up. I know I did because I just did. I just gave you all editing capabilities and it didn't work. So what you would do, and let's see if this works, and then I'll let you know how I did that. Do you have editing capabilities now? Still no.
No.
Oh. Let's see.
I had to refresh my page to get it.
Okay, so maybe everybody refresh really quick.
I did refresh, it didn't work.
That works for me.
Works for
Yeah,
me.
mine worked.
Okay, and Gina
Well, I'm
asked
still
me
view
directly
only.
for access. So Joyce, you only have view only. Let's see. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to give you specific access.
Where are you going in to do that?
I'll show you. Okay. Oh, I don't want to raise my hand. I'm next to it. This is what happens when they change out your thing. Okay. You're going to see screens and screens and screens here. Okay. So when we are on here and people are playing around and this is fun. So play around with some of these options that the toolbar. Okay. So if you get in and your kids are like, teacher, I don't have any capability in order to edit. A couple of things that you can do. You can come up here to share. Okay. Make sure that your general access has been given to people in the co-op and that it is editor access. Okay.
You know, there's two different links. One of them.
Oh, so you want to be in the second one? Yes.
Yeah, one. I was in the other link, and that's the one I just realized.
Okay. So, and if that doesn't work, the other thing that you can do is you can come up and you can directly add. If for some reason you have a student who's like, I am still not seeing this, it's not giving me access. You know, I could come in here and I could, you know, type Mandy. I want to make sure that she has editing access, even though she probably already does still. And then that would make sure that they all have editing access. But the easiest way is, and what should have happened is that when I set this Jamboard up, I gave everybody editing capabilities. I am not sure what happened when it switched over. If that happens to you though, in the middle of your class and you're getting kind of flustered and they're like, I don't have access, I can't do this, then simply just go to share, give everybody editing capabilities, using the editor button down here under the general access, press done, have them refresh their screens, and then they should have access to join. Okay. So this can be so much fun, guys. So you're seeing that they have the ability to write, that they can jump in. You can do pictures, and then you could write the pictures. I think for language, sometimes what you guys do right is that you put pictures up there, and then they have to write down they have to write the name in Spanish or translate it from Spanish to English. I love these sticky notes. I can show you. So I'm going to show you one of my past ones here. Let's see, where is my? Okay, let me get into one thing really quick here, and then I'll share it with you. So I'll show you what we did in some of these past ones. Okay. Okay, so some of the things that we have done. This is this was a group project that we were working on. So I broke everybody out for this particular project. I broke everybody into 3 different breakout rooms. We were doing foreign policy, foreign relations, as we were in my government class. They had 3 different options. You know, we were talking about Syria and our response. And so they had become the foreign relations people, and they had to decide what stance they were going to take. And so you can see kind of at the top here, the 3 different things. And you can tell who was in my class, right? So these were my groups. And so in their breakout room, they were each given access to this, but under their own response. And so I had kind of broken out my Jamboard into 3 different sections, and then underneath it, they had to write out the reasons why their foreign policy decision was the one that the whole group should decide on. And then at the end, as we talked through it, then we all came back, and as a class, they had to decide which argument was the strongest and which foreign policy action we were going to take. So that was kind of a fun one, and a way that you can use it. We also have done this, we did a quote walk. We were talking about different, they had a whole bunch of different quotes, and then they had to pick the ones that stood out to them and why it stood out to them. So they added them to our quote walk, and as they added them, they had to tell us why those particular ones stood out to them. And that was done using the sticky notes. Jen.
So I've been trying to figure out how to use this for my class. So was that something, what you just showed us, all those quotes, was that something that was assigned, or is that something they had to do in class?
So this was a part of an assignment. This was coming from their homework. So in their homework, I had given them there were several different things in the assignment, but part of the assignment had a whole list, had a whole page of different quotes that talked about freedom and that kind of thing. And the kids had to pick like 2 that stood out to them the most. And then when we came back into class the next day, or the next week, then they referred back to those ones that they had chosen and then added them to our Jamboard so that the rest of the class could see them as we were having an in-class discussion about them.
Are the Jamboards always available to everyone, like on the screen here? Anything that we create, or is that just a setting that we have?
So I'm sorry, explain that to me again, Stacy.
Yeah, it's in your Google options. Like if you click on the, 9 dots up there by the letter for your name. Yeah, up there. If you scroll down, here, you'll see Jamboard down there.
Right here.
Right, but what I'm saying is, like right now, I can see Jamboards from, Spanish and from, Constitution class in the past and things. Like, are those, so anything I create, is that, obviously I'm seeing things from other teachers in Ladder Up in the past.
This has to do with the access privileges that have been given as teachers and as members of the virtual Ladder Up community. When you allow, so when we were in, when I am in this Jamboard, right, and I just showed you guys how to share with everybody, and it clicks in, and I give general access to people. That means that anyone in the Ladder Up community could potentially find it. It's not like they're going out. Like it's not like on a regular basis you're going to be inundated with what everybody else is seeing. But if you give the Ladder Up community access to it, then when I come into it, in the general Jamboard thing, then yes, I'm going to see what other teachers have put out there. Now, if for some reason, you didn't want that access for everybody, what you could do is you well, and in this one, it doesn't even give you that option. So in general, if you have files, it will say, do you want general access to anybody who can find it? Do you want people who only have the link? Do you want general access to the Ladder Up community? So that is how you can change that. Now it appears for Jamboard that it's within the Ladder Up community. So nobody outside our group can have access to it. They will never find it. But if you're in here, then yes, you might see it. So, different things that we've done for trainings and stuff. And then you just go down here to the bottom to create your own. So Julia and then Jen.
Okay, so I was successfully able to edit yours, and I created one on accident. It popped up with someone wants to share a thing. I'm like, oh, I don't know who that someone is. And then it was me. I'm like, whoa, looks like I made one accidentally. But so if I accidentally made 2 and I wanted to get rid of one, You know, like how you had to clarify, like join the second one, not the first one. I've been trying to delete the first one just to learn how to do it, and I can't figure that out. And then on the screen, on your screen where it shows lots of them, I haven't figured out where you found that.
Okay, so I don't know that you can get rid of it, and I can't get rid of yours and stuff because we all have co-hosting capability. So you would, at that point, if you accidentally did that one, then you would have to just say, make sure that you're clicking into this second one, and then that should work. Now, how did I get into this one? I simply went to my Google, my homepage. I clicked on my 9 buttons. I scrolled down to the bottom. I clicked on Jamboard, and then it brought up all of the files for Jamboards that currently exist. And then if the one was the one that I created that I wanted to use, so for instance, my untitled jam. So you will always want, your best bet, guys, to keep yourself organized is to make sure that you title your Jamboards with your class name and even like a semester, you know, like a year or a semester, something, so that you can easily find yours if it does end up that it's going to end up on this main board and stuff. And so, you know, you would come in here, you would click that you want a new Jamboard. I would say, oh, this is untitled. Anything in Google, you simply just go up and click on that. I would say this is going to be for my British literature class, fall 2023. It names it for me. Okay, and then I have access to it. One of the other really fun features with Jamboards is that you'll notice that there's a button up here that allows you to create more. So maybe you're teaching somebody, maybe you're teaching something and you want your kids to be writing, maybe they're taking notes, maybe they're working out problems, depending on what department you're in. Maybe you have pictures, but you don't want people necessarily writing on yours, but you want them answering. You could create a Jamboard, their own like whiteboard that your students can use for every single one of your students. So then they're not all trying to compete and write on each other's, but they have their own space that they're working on while you're trying to teach them. And the possibilities are kind of endless there. If as you come up with ideas, we would love to have you share that in the teacher spaces. If you're like, oh, wow, I think I could use it to do this and this and this, share that with the rest of us, because we can learn a lot that way. Jen.
Okay, so the checkerboard where we have our Google Docs and our Google Sheets, and then there's the Jamboard there. How do we create a Jamboard again? I think you just said, do we have to be in Google Meet to create a Jamboard?
No. So you have 2 options. If you want to pre-make your Jamboard, you go to your Google screen, you go to the you go to your main screen, you go to the button that over there, and you scroll down to Jamboard and you click on Jamboard. Okay, that will allow you to create it before your class. If
I'm there, but I don't see a place where I can create one.
Okay, so once you click into it, it's not at the top here, which is kind of disconcerting because normally it'd be like, oh, I click here and then I would say plus, yes, I want to do that. You don't do that for Jamboards. For Jamboards, you go down to this plus button on the bottom.
Oh. Glad you pointed this out,
okay,
because we use a Jamboard in chemistry and we use it as a whiteboard, and I can see things we did in class with our crazy mouse.
Yes, yep. So yep, if it's in there, then yep, people do. They use it just like a whiteboard for their class. And then the other option, if you're not doing it pre, then you would just go into that little triangle, square, circle with the activities, and you would click on that and you would go to whiteboarding, which is the bottom one, and you would start a new whiteboard. That's how you would do it in the middle of your class, if you're just wanting to get on and start a discussion with them. So those are your 2 options. Joyce.
I just wanted to make a note that when I went into the Jamboard, all I can see is all the Spanish ones and the teacher workshop that you just shared. And it says recent, it says owned by anyone, but if you click on owned by anyone or owned by me, you won't have, I've never had clutter from other classes in my drive, in any of them. I've never had any clutter. I can do a search and stuff will pop up, but whatever I've created and this stuff Kristen has shared with me, that's all I can see. I'm not seeing, like on yours, you see everybody's stuff. I don't know if it's because you're a curriculum person.
And
but
it may be, and it just may be my settings and stuff, because I do see
I'm just,
all of your stuff.
I just don't have any of that clutter is all I'm saying.
And that's perfect. And that will make it easier for you guys. So you're not having to run interference through all of this stuff. So yes, and you won't lose your things as easily. So that's perfect. And so but this is, if you're okay, are you okay if I share this intro to Spanish one? Kristen, Joyce, I don't know.
Sorry, I stepped away. Yes, that was from our juniors. And I think you have access to that one because your son was in the class. So he was playing around with it maybe. Or I don't know. That doesn't make sense because it wasn't his account. So I don't know. But yeah, you can share it. Sorry.
So explain to the group what you did in this one, Kristen. What were you having them do on the whiteboard?
Oh, we played a game. I call it the fly swatter game because we would use fly swatters if we were in person. But if I would say a word in Spanish and then they would circle it, they would circle the picture and they'd see who could circle it first or something like that.
Oh, fun. See, so lots of different options. And so I tend to think most of my kids have all been high school kids that I've been teaching. And so this is a fun one for those younger ages. It is also important to note, guys, to lay down your ground rules from the beginning, especially as you hit some of those younger ages. They get on there and they get access to that pen and the thing, and the sticky notes. And pretty soon I'm trying to be teaching something. And even with my high schoolers, they are obsessed with moving my sticky notes all over the board at any given time in my lecture. So it's good to lay down the ground rules from the beginning and say, hey guys, okay, we're going to put this here, or I'm going to be the one moving them around, or, go for it, let them scribble on it for a minute and then you can erase everything.
The laser is really helpful too, because a lot of my games, I don't want them to scribble. So they use the laser and it'll go away.
And that's great. That's perfect to know. So any other questions with our Jamboard here? Okay. All right. We have run out of time. And so, but I did want to introduce, so just this final thing. And so this is the brand new feature that we have all just been given. I am learning it along with everybody else right now, and ways that I can possibly use it in my classroom. But I am super excited about this practice set, and in particular, the way that it creates an insight automatically on your grade book. So it will correct things automatically and post them into your grade book because you've linked those assignments. And then it will let you know how your kids are doing. So as we end here, I just want us to watch this 3-minute video. This is put out by Google. And then we'll chat it and we'll wrap things up. Okay. Ooh. Let me know if the way that I shared this may not want to work. Let me see. In fact, I might have to, I'm going to stop sharing this way, and I am going to share this tab a different way.
Where do you find the practice sets at?
So, and that's a great question. Yep. I'll answer that in just a second. Where is my... I get out of this for the summer, and then did anybody notice they have changed when you choose what you share, they have changed what it looks like just in the last few days? And it makes me a little crazy because now what I thought I knew, I don't know as well. Okay, I'm going to try it this way. Let me know if you guys can't hear my volume when I share it this way, okay?
Yeah, we don't hear
I
that.
can't hear anything.
I can read the words.
Well, just to do it through the transcript there. Okay. What is the best way to try something else?
So which way was it you were trying to share?
I was trying to share it through well, originally I wanted to share it as a tab because that's the best option
Yeah.
when we're doing this. But the way that they have just upgraded this, for whatever reason, it doesn't want to come up as one of my tabs,
Wow.
which I've never had happen before. So I'm going to try something else here.
I use that actually quite a bit. So if the function is changed, that would be good to know.
Well, and the other thing is that I'm working through my curriculum account and my personal account at the same time, my Jamie Land account at the same time. And so before I've never had a problem sharing between those accounts before. But apparently it's not going to like me today. So we're going to try it this way. And I think that I can. Okay. Now let's see if that, yes. Okay. So now that's going to bring it up. I'm going to share it as a tab. I'm going to share my tab audio, and this one should work.
Learning is personal. Students stay more engaged and learn more effectively when they get feedback right away. But one-on-one help for each student isn't always possible with the learning tools that exist today. For educators, having a round-the-clock tutor for each student that could help them grade classwork and give insights into student comprehension would be ideal. That's why we're creating a new tool in Google Classroom called Practice Sets, which enables educators to create interactive assignments from their existing content or from scratch. Students can get help as they answer questions, and teachers can get automated insights to know where students are getting stuck. Let's take a look at how it works. Once teachers create practice sets using existing content or by writing their own questions, our adaptive learning technology identifies the relevant learning skills for each question and finds relevant hints and resources that will be available for students if they need help. With all the typical question types like multiple choice and short answer, practice sets also have a built-in math keyboard and use our adaptive learning technology to enable equivalent answers for robust auto-grading. Teachers assign practice sets in Google Classroom like any other assignment. Students open practice sets right from an assignment in Google Classroom. As they work, auto-grading lets them know right away if their solution is correct, which helps build confidence, keeps them engaged, and prevents one misunderstanding from impacting the entire set. If they don't get a question on the first try, built-in hints help them along. When a student is unsure of where to start, they can open a resources section, which provides recommended videos and concept cards for each learning skill. Additional features include designated space to show their work, allowing them to demonstrate understanding while giving their teacher visibility into their thinking. For assignments created with practice sets, you will have enhanced features in the Classroom Grader view. Teachers get a quick view of class performance and can see student work for every attempt they make per problem. Automated insights reveal class-wide trends, so teachers gain visibility and can adjust their teaching plan if many students struggle with the same question or concept. With practice sets, students get the help they need faster, and teachers get actionable insights about their class. We understand that no two learning journeys are the same, so we're building tools that work for you.
Okay, so that is a little bit about practice sets. And you had the question about, well, how do I get into them? And so there's two different, again, front way and a back way, right? When you get into your, let me share my other screen with you now. Okay, when you get into your classroom, you can either come up here and it will say, oh, practice sets, they're new. Do you want to try them? You can click into them. This is one of those things where you can also create them. You can be creating them all summer long and put them in. Or the other option is to go to classwork. Okay. You would go to create, you go to assignment, and you'll notice that practice sets is an option now down here. Okay, if you have the upgraded version. And so say I wanted to create this assignment, I would come into practice sets, and just kind of like your Jamboard and how it gave you your past ones. Okay, this is going to give you a place where you create it. So if you don't have one yet, you would go to create. I'm going to show you mine because I think a lot of times we think math first. And for our math teachers, this is a game changer. Because it allows you to type in equations, and it gives the kids an equation calculator and all sorts of things. So if you are a math teacher, this will be an amazing tool for you this year. But everybody else, you're like, well, what do I do? So this is one that I have created already. This is for our first unit, which will be on Beowulf. And this is where my CLEP questions are going to reside now. So then I can see how my kids are doing on their practice questions, on those CLEP practice questions through the year. They usually just come in here. I've done all of them as multiple choice questions. Now, I've created it. All I have to do is attach it. I could write some instructions here. You know, I could say, make sure that you get this done. Multiple choice, reach out to me if there's any problems, whatever, but it's attached. Okay. And then I would just assign it like I would any other assignment. You know, I can give it a grade. I can grade it. Would be under my quizzes. I'm going to say, you know, there were 10, maybe there were 2 points each. I'm going to make it 20 points. I'm going to give it a due date. I'm going to give it, you know, I'm going to tell it, this is my week 1. It's under my Anglo-Saxon unit. And then if you've done any of the Google setup with me, you know, you can either assign it, and puts it right out. You can schedule it, meaning I only want my kids to see it I don't want my kids to see it until the first week of class or whatever week you assign it to. Or, you know what, I may come back to this. Maybe I want to add some other things to this. And so I'm going to save it as a draft. And then you'll notice it automatically attached it. So Tammy, I will double check that for you and make sure that you do have the upgrade, because I know you are one of my math teachers. So Ashley.
When you make this practice set, like you had it on your class main screen, can students see each other's answers?
No.
Okay.
No, this is all done on individual assignments and stuff. They see it. And so when I come in here and I'm creating these, so notice that it's used that one right now. It's not pulling up. Oh, I did pull it up. Okay, so it always resides there. So if I want to create, so say I'm coming in here so you can kind of see what it looks like. I feel like the Google video explains things well, but then it doesn't really show you anything. So again, you're going to want to title it, right? Make sure you title everything. So give it your class name or whatever. It lets you pick your type of question. And if you're a math person, it lets you insert. This is where you can insert a math formula. So it brings up a math calculator, a math keyboard for you, which is really, really cool. So I don't need that as that though. So I would type in my question, and just like if you've ever used Google Forms or anything like that, it allows you to pick. If you pick a paragraph answer, it will not self-grade. Okay, that's just something that it can't think through. The AI is getting amazing, but not that cool. So short answer, single select, multi-select, all of those, the computer can grade for you, but it cannot do the paragraph. One of the ones that's kind of cool is if you're searching for skills. So if I'm learning about like nouns, let's see if that pulls it up. It still wants me to do, I don't want to do math. So like when I was typing in so I can add my skills here. When I was typing in my questions, it'd be like, oh, this is English. Do you want it to have something? And so that's where it comes in, where the students would get hints. Like if it's about nouns and my kids don't remember what a noun is, maybe I'm teaching, you know, really young classes. Then it could bring up, then that's where it kind of thinks for you, and it will bring up resources like a Google video on what is a noun or how do I find nouns in a sentence, that kind of thing. So that's really neat. For your homework, I would suggest playing around with this, guys. There's so many different great options. Like I said, it's brand new to me, like it is to everybody. It just released in the last couple of months. And so again, if it is something that you have played around with, or you're practicing, or as you learn something and you're like, wow, that's really cool, please don't be afraid to share that in our teacher chat space so that we're all learning from this new feature together. Kika and then Joyce.
Okay, so if it's a non-math question and they get it wrong, does it show them the right answer, or do they guess again?
Now it should give them, now depending on the type of thing that and how you have it set up, then it will either, they can either have to try it again, because that's how you see how many times it took them to respond to get the right answer
Okay.
on that insight thing. Yes. Joyce.
Where do we access the analysis of our students?
So that happens in your grade book.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so that will be a feature that you will see. And unfortunately right now, because we don't have your kids all listed, you haven't started your assignments yet. I can't show you that. And right now I am working with Melanie Velasquez, who is our teaching support this year, to make sure that one of our first teaching support meetings is about grades. So once all the kids are in and you're doing it from that side, that you guys can see how that works. So with that, I'm happy to stay on for just a couple more minutes to answer any questions that you might have. We are going to be doing one other workshop this afternoon on Google Slides, and some of the ways that can be an interactive tool in your classroom will be lots of fun. We're going to do some hands-on things with that. So that's at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you can join us, I will also record that one and try to get it up on the website sometime this week if you're not able to attend that. But with that, thank you so much, guys, for coming. Hopefully that was useful in learning some of these tools that you'll have access to as school starts in a few weeks. Have a great day.
The one to this afternoon is going to be different than this one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. All of these workshops from here on out, none of them will be repeated. They will all be on new things. So Google Slides, and then next week we'll have one on Google Sites. We have a couple coming up on AI in the classroom for teachers and AI in the classroom for students. So yeah, we have that whole list if you get back onto the teachers chat. And the calendar for those should be coming up this afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good job.
Thank you.
That's super helpful. Thank you.